Blakey and Tugs, they're talking Cardiff City and some other stuff. Blakey and Tugs, Dolly asked the questions on Blakey's Bootroom. Will always be blue.
Good afternoon, a belated welcome to Blakey's Bootroom here on Wales Online. Steve and Nathan finally in the studio after a couple of problems. Blakey, where have you been?
Let's say floods. Country bumpkin.
The Blakey estate was
Yeah.
flooded.
No.
He's had to evacuate the West Wing.
And the motorway's a nightmare. I couldn't get over 50 or 60 really. So, yeah, terrible.
You've got to get rid of that Skoda. So.
I know.
It's no good for you
I'm
at
looking
all.
for a little
Anyway, travel problems aside.
We're here now, fashionably late, but here.
A strange weekend. It's kind of a devastating one, really, the way it turned out in the end. But you, other people I've spoken to, a couple of fans, feeling quite positive about things, more positive than we felt for a few weeks. Anyway, what did you make of the performance?
Get carried away. It was one game, like,
I did warn you there might be some. Is that the positivity finish now?
No, it was. The game was. On reflection, it was decent, disappointing end, obviously, but if they play like that over time, over the next couple of months, that's when you start to see things improve from a performance standpoint. What you'd expect.
What was different then?
They just passed the ball to one another.
Simple as that.
It was as simple as that.
It's an easy game.
Yeah, they passed the ball to one another, and they had a bit more movement. They had a few bit more legs in central midfield, I felt, with Gunnarsson and Rouse, which we've been crying out on this programme for perhaps 2 years, maybe at least 18 months, saying that if your central midfield ain't got enough legs to get about, you are going to struggle. So that was a positive, but positive. But it's one game. I don't want people to think like I'm that easily satisfied, because.
No, but when you
we never imagined.
I mean, we had to go. If it was chalk and cheese, you look at Derby and you look at Saturday, it was chalk and cheese. The way they played, the way the result. Take the result aside, but the way they played was chalk and cheese. But still, the way they played Saturday, it should be the beginning of something good. You expect even from that. Yeah. If you said out against Derby, you gave them a 1, maybe a 2 out of 10. Yesterday. Saturday, you gave them like a 5 out of 10, because you could start to see, right, if they stick to that sort of playing, that method of playing, things should get better and better, and the pattern should develop better, and movement should increase and get better. So, then you're talking about a proper, good footballing team, both going forward and defending.
Was it the centre of the park that was the key for you then?
Yeah, well, I think
because Burnley looked a bit leggy, didn't they, with Barton, and they looked the old slow ones.
Crikey, Barton! I don't even barely remember him getting on the ball or anything. He didn't do a thing.
Gunnar went off.
When you look at it, I mean, you would have expected something from him, but. I think the thing that is important about it is as well. I agree with what Nathan said there as well. Is that it was against Burnley, and let's be honest, they don't come bigger form size in this division. I think they had like 1 defeat in 14 or something like that. They should have lost that. It was incredibly unfortunate for Cardiff near the end. All right, you could say, if you want to bring some negativity in, the changes Slade made, maybe. I know you spoke about that in your column, or too deep at the end, but that was always going to happen. But overall, they dominated Burnley for long stretches, and they were and they were all the things that we've spoken about have wanted, and simple, to be fair, they had that. Yeah,
quite simple.
They were on the front foot. I think they were pressing a lot better. As you say, the midfield changes had worked. There was a lot better distribution.
Better.
Defensively, again, I thought they were good. I thought Matt Connolly was great again. brilliant clearance off the line. So unfortunate near the end, but these things happen. And
that was a Matt Connolly clearance, wasn't it? That's how I define him.
Yeah.
Last ditch all the time.
Yeah. I thought defensively they were good again, and Morrison got a classic goal. I suppose if you want a stick to beat them with again, 2 set pieces again. But they're still goals. I mean, you'd love them to 32 passes right up the pitch and somebody smack it in. But their goals are goals. So. But I mean, talking about that, I thought as well, Tony Watt came in.
Yeah, quite a few comments
straight in.
about him.
I thought that was as good a debut for a Cardiff player as I've seen in ages. Actually, trying to think back who might have come in and he looked exactly what people have been saying about him all week. He likes to come deep, wants the ball, wants to pick it up, wants to drive, really positive in everything he does, wants to get at people. He had that fantastic run in the first half. He took about 3 guys out of the equation, got to the edge of the box, one thing in his head, shot just past the post, would have been a brilliant goal. So, and also, I mean, I'm working on a piece today, weren't we, that I thought him and Kenwyn just kind of looked like they might complement each other a bit. They got, you got Kenwyn's that kind of like rock guy, he comes into his chest, he's like, 5 defenders on him, and you got what it's like dragging it. He loves it. He loves it. The Kenwyn loves it though. That's the good thing. And that he's never happier than when he's got like a defender's head up his shirt or something. And you had Watt buzzing around, looking for knockdowns, looking for this. Long way to go with it, but I thought the early indications were good. And yeah, as Blake said, not through the woods yet. Nobody's saying, wow, this is it. They're brilliant, here come, automatic places. But I think, again, as Blakey said in his column today, and it's a really good point, let's hope that's a starting point now. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're not, they haven't done anything amazing. They only drew the game in the end for a start, but I mean, but that is something to build on there. What would be terrible would be to go to Bolton now and lose in like and you've gone back again because then you say you're back at the first stage and you're saying hang on,
you just tease me again.
Yeah, stop teasing us. But I thought they were much more positive, much better, and fair play to them and to Russell Slade as well, because I think he was devastated at the end, but I think I'm in my report when he reflects on it maybe today now back in training he might think, oh well, a few of the things I wanted to do actually happened, and that hasn't been the case all the time for Slade, is it really?
Yeah, a couple of comments then on Tony Watt. Mike saying, I'm seriously excited about the signing of Watt. He gives us another dimension. Thought Idris Sadi the other day, I know he's injured at the moment, seemed very promising as well. And Anthony just saying it was nice eating humble pie for a change this time after a Slade signing. Watt looked a breath of fresh air. What did you make of young Tony Watt?
Yeah. You're always going to have, well, you should, when you debut, it should be quite an uplifting.
Well, like I said, he had a lot of energy. He's like 21. He should have energy.
He's got energy to burn. And, I thought it was a good debut, really good debut. But, you expect that adrenaline, kicks in. It's your first game, you're trying to impress, you want to impress a new club and everything. So, rarely does a debut you come off going, what was that? You know what I mean? That rarely happens. Well,
apart from your debut, but no, I think he's got. It's as you said as well. I thought, now, a bit like the performance for Watt. That's the start.
Yeah, it's beginning.
He started, he set himself some standards. Let's see those lifted. Let's see his head down, working. Him and Kenwyn, you hope in training.
Develop a better
starting to get a little bit of understanding going.
Yeah.
Drilling, work on them pair up front. And let's I was going to look back. I was writing this piece about the strike partnerships, and you know how lazy I am. I was like, I tell you what I'll do. I'll look back and see all the strike partnerships. Then I was like, nah. It's like, because there's so many of them. It's just a hassle. So I just sort of vaguely but that's the point. We've waited so long under, because Slade likes the two up front. We've waited so long for somebody to partner Kenwyn. It's been like Cinderella's shoe, hasn't it? Really,
you have to say it's been a while since Well, it's been a long time coming where Kevin's been recognised as the number 1 striker.
Yeah, that's taken a while.
Yeah, so the reason for there's been so many different partnerships, because even Kevin wasn't assured as the number 1 striker, if you like. So there's been like the Makeda, there's been Kenway, there's been Ravel.
I mean, when he started out last year, it was Lafondra and Makeda.
There's been Doyle.
Doyle came.
Then there's been
Mason,
Joe Mason. So there hasn't been a natural, like most clubs, you have a number 9, then you know your number 9 is, you know who your striker is, you know your person who's going to get you 15 goals as a guarantee at the start of the season. 20 on a good season, 25, 30 on an exceptional season. But I don't think Cardiff have had that for a
while.
3 years. Well,
Chopra and Bodroyd or something, isn't it?
I think Joe might have been the last person to get 20 goals, mightn't he? Or near enough 20 goals.
Joe Mason?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When was that? No, I'm not sure he's had anything like that.
In the championship, in the promotion season.
He scored a few,
Weren't they
didn't he? He
all
was
very
good,
shared out in the promotion? I always remember
did he score about 15
did
goals?
He? Well,
over
maybe he
that
did, maybe
season?
about 14, 15, but...
Oh,
they-
so
they've
the
been-
last person to
they're
score 20
due.
goals then was Whittingham?
Yeah, probably. I was actually thinking that could
That
be
is
that season he
frightening.
was joint top scorer. But
That is
we've
frightening.
waited so long,
That's frightening
you
statistic.
just hope, fingers crossed, that they can stay fit. That would transform the season. If suddenly you're going out there and every game you're kind of knowing Jones or Watt is going to get you a goal.
Were you surprised that Watt started? Because that was kind of Slade-like as well. We've seen with Amiobi, a player come in who hasn't played much football in the weeks before. And
I think
solely
after
on the
Derby,
bench.
I don't think he had a choice, to be honest with you.
I think
the
Mason had
performance
drifted
was
out of form.
So poor against Derby, and he didn't look like getting a goal. The only time they looked like getting a goal was once Kenwyn turned his man and managed to slop the ball to the right when Noon took the chance. But that aside, they looked like devoid of all sort of ideas. They did need something different.
Yeah.
I think Slade's learning to take chances a bit. He's been a bit more proactive, and he's not afraid to switch stuff. But then again, saying that, he's actually...
This is after one game, he's so easily satisfied, isn't he?
Right, let's get a statue erected to Russell Slade in his cap. No! Look, we had a positive performance. This is the show following the... Let's make it a positive. Let's have it all nice. But no negative comments, John, today.
Yeah. Well,
no negative.
sadly, I've got to go to the comments, and they're not as positive as perhaps you
Have
might
we misjudged the mood of the nation?
I think you might have done. Well, let me sum them up
What
with
is with these Cardiff fans, man?
The mood wasn't great after the game. put it
Paul
that
here
way.
says, thought we played much better,
But
until clueless Russell Slade took Jones
Changes,
off. Took Jones off for
So everyone's
Makeda.
saying.
Why not Manga for the last 5 minutes? He knew he'd be under pressure. Slade out, he says. Roy says it's far too early to say whether Slade's getting it right. Just one good performance out of months of rubbish. He also has to learn that when you have a 2-0 lead.
Shut up shop.
Indeed. I really can't see how anyone can say Slade has got it right at last. Steve Jones says, thought the first half was the best I've seen all season, but Slade lost the game with his subs. He knew he'd be up against it, so why bring on Makeda? He's clueless. I mean, these are a little harsh, aren't they? These are a little harsh.
To be fair, John, that is the general mood.
Mike says, I spoke to a Burnley fan after the game and he said that was the worst they had played all season. I thought Slade's tactical lack of awareness let us down. A 5-man midfield could have prevented Burnley's
I agree with
final
that, yeah. I agree with
onslaught,
that,
he
big stop.
says.
Because listen, and as a manager or a player, you're 2-0 up, it's the dreaded scoreline, you're going half-time 2-0, but the last 10 minutes, 2-0 up, last 10 minutes, all you know is, listen, just we don't concede, yeah? We cannot concede. So you automatically, last 10 minutes, drop back a bit deeper, get everyone behind the ball sort of thing, no problem. You know if they score, it's going to be really backs to the wall. They're just going to throw everything into the box and hope for a ricochet, a knockdown,
Hope for
something.
exactly what happens.
Hope for exactly what happens. But what I wouldn't have done, and I think this is the only criticism I have as the manager, is the substitutions. I did think that was a mistake. Listen, if Cameron had run his course, which I think he probably could have lasted another 5-10 minutes, would have been fine. Just leave him up there, and Gunnarsson went off. Simple change for O'Keefe, and then bring on another midfielder. I just thought bring on Kennedy on the left, and push Whitlam into the middle, and have 3 of them in there, and just say go and dog, and then when you get it, Peter, just one of you release either down the right or down the left. Kennedy, you've got the new leg, so we'll look to him behind the right back. So just release the ball down there. But
you mentioned Peter Whittingham there. General consensus that he looked better out wide.
He did. He was wanting to come in and they were kind of swapping around a bit at times. Roles, it's a kind of adaptability thing. But when he was supposed to be out wide, he does drift in a bit. But I'll go a little bit with that. I don't want to be a downer again, but that guy saying about Burnley, I was disappointed by them. However good Cardiff were, and they were much better. But I thought Whittingham got a lot more. Funnily enough, a lot more time, or seemed to have a lot more time than he has recently. I don't think he was kind of like, maybe that's because he was out wide again. He seemed to have more time on the ball to look up, to actually do things than he had recently. But I thought toward man they were better. I'd even go and look at, I'd even look at Malone and Peltier as well and say, they were getting forward more. They were a lot more positive as well. And so right through the side, but yeah. Definitely, whatever happens, I think everyone agrees, get Rolls in the middle there, get him on the ball, doing stuff. Yeah. Irrespective of out on the way, you could
just raises the tempo.
There's an argument made for Pilkington out there even.
I can't believe that with all the staff that are there, plus the manager, you don't recognise that the central of midfield, they got players they got staff who have played that position. That the central of midfield is the heartbeat of your team, basically. It dictates tempo, it dictates how you press, it dictates so much of how you're going to play. I can't believe, with all due respect to Peter, Peter's not a closing down kind of player. Me personally now, with Wits, I would be saying to Wits, right, when we play a 5-man midfield. If we play where we want to get it and we're going to stretch teams, I'm going to play you because you can put it on a sixpence. If we play it where I need a dog of war, then no, O'Keefe or Gunnarsson is going to play as Dickerchoy is going to play as my holding midfielder. So, but you can rotate, you can mix and match. Wits, his legs will be even further gone now. He doesn't want to be wide up and down because that is, trust me, that is such a hard job to do. So that's why you will naturally drift inside. And Riles is young enough to be able to do that up and down. But you need the legs of him in the middle. So both players tend to want to be in the middle and tend to drift that way. So for me, I would use a bit more. I think there's a bit more thought that needs to go into selection. And like I've said before, setup. I don't think you can get away with just saying 4-4-2, 4-4-2, 4-4-2, 4-3 lopsided winger 2. I don't think you can just be that straightforward anymore. I think we've got the players. Listen, if you ain't got the pace to stretch players, you have to play. And we've not got pace. We've said it how many times? Whether you look at Pilkington or whoever, the only person really with any sort of raw pace is Amiobi, and Amiobi doesn't play. So if you're not stretching the teams with pace, you've got to be able to keep the ball. But all our players, I would say, are all technically good enough to keep the ball, and good players to keep the ball. So they need to be working on those sorts of patterns of play. Ball on the floor, intricacy, passing, moving, blah, blah, blah. Because they're not going to do anyone. None of our strikers is going to ball over the top against, say, a manga type defender, isn't going to win the race.
Yeah, indeed. Just have a look for a couple more comments here. One of you from Roy saying, I've only just noticed Blakey.
Roy the boy?
Only just noticed Blakey's going grey on the side of his beard.
Hey, come on, Roy. I've had the beard, I've been growing it since
what? It makes you look distinguished.
I've been growing it since, what are we now? Probably
December
since
1st tomorrow, isn't it?
since about about September.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't grow very far. You should be down here.
No.
I shaved this morning.
Mate, I know Wolverine.
This is 5 o'clock shadow for me. I'm so macho.
Shaved about 2 minutes ago.
macho.
Well, what about the players who were missing on the weekend, Tux? Just sort of clear. What's the latest? Because obviously Pilkington wasn't in there, Digatroy wasn't in there.
Yeah,
What's the
I mean, I'll
situation?
be honest. I know Pilkington obviously missed Derby through illness, so whether that virus has persisted, I would imagine that's it. Actually, sorry, Digatroy, I don't know. Presumably he had some kind of pull, but didn't get any official confirmation.
Good to see you chase that one up.
Yeah, I had a lot on my mind.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I had to get to a bar.
You
Do you know,
say
I don't
something
hang
about
around
lazy?
there asking about why.
Did you say something about lazy earlier?
Oh, what can I say? No, but yeah, he
You're
was.
asking him to do research, John.
No. Yeah, hey, you're trying to make me look bad on live TV. It's not hard to do. But, no, there was a knock.
Keep
Carrying
talking,
a knock.
mate. You're just getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And
What
deeper.
about obviously since we last met last week, there was lots of talk. A few stories from you towards the end of last week on this chase for a Premier League striker that went down to the wire on
they didn't
Thursday,
get
which
it,
was
yeah.
the emergency loan deadline. Did you just give us a brief summary
was it?
of what happened there?
Hey, is this all designed to make me look bad?
I'm just asking a simple question.
I can tell you who it wasn't. Is that
Okay,
any good to you?
okay.
Is that, no, I mean, they were looking for. I mean, there was talk that it was that James Wilson at Man U, wasn't he, who eventually went to Brighton. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure that is the correct thing, because I know that the person they were chasing, they were looking in January, and they still are looking to sign them in January on a permanent deal. So I would be very surprised if that was to happen with Wilson at Man U. But no, they obviously they brought Tony Watt in, and I think most of us thought, oh, actually, it wasn't a Premier League striker. They've gone to the Championship and got Watt, and then I discovered that they were in fact still looking for someone right to the wire on the last day. So and it didn't quite come off in the end, so they had to go with what they've got.
I'm sure that's what you just said, John. I was just waiting for a name.
Did I add anything? I talked for ages, but I'm not sure if I added anything to what we.
Go into politics, mate.
Yeah, you could do.
I rest my case.
You could do. I mean, your in terms of game, your man of the match, Tux.
You're not going to ask more questions.
Whoa.
Hang on, let me get more.
Well,
What's the capital of Kazakhstan? No idea.
Yeah.
Astana.
Your man of the match was Matt Connolly.
I went with
Obviously-
Matt Connolly. I agonised over it a little. Not that I got much time to agonise.
Scored
over
an OG. That's what they'll all be saying.
I
He
know,
scored
but
an OG.
I thought he
What
had
are
a
you
very,
talking
very
about?
good game. I thought he had a very good game. The clearance off the line, I thought that, and he was unfortunate. Craig, he got caught in his legs. What's he going to do? He's in the way. It hits his leg. It goes in the net. So I thought to myself, well, that's hardly enough to render the rest of it right. So I went with Connolly because I thought he was excellent.
Okay.
I did answer that one, right?
You did, yeah.
Just
What-
about.
Would you have gone along with that?
What would you have you had?
Mm,
Gunnarsson was another candidate, I thought.
Yeah, I thought
Maybe
Gunnar, Ralls, I thought they were good in there.
Yeah.
I thought that's where I thought that was the difference between why Burnley looked quite ordinary. I thought they just couldn't cope with Gunnarsson and Ralls, to be honest with you. You know, a lot said about Joey Barton and his quality, but he's old now. You know what I mean? Simple as that. And young legs
As old
like
as you,
that.
Blake, isn't he?
It's not that old.
Young legs. It's difficult, mate, when you get
You
to
should
that
still
age.
wear that gel, on there, that wet look gel. I don't even know if that was fashionable then, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll give you the benefit. Long time ago.
Indeed. I mean,
Let's not talk about a long time ago.
No, indeed. Let's talk about next weekend. I mean, Bolton up as the next.
The Super Whites. Now then, Nathan.
So what sort of challenge do they
Not much
represent
at the
these
bloody
days?
moment. It's a
I think you answered that one. Right?
Bolton's my team, like,
Are they your favourite? Oh, you're not allowed to have favourites when you're a former pro. You're allowed to go, no, that was my... Well, apart from the Bluebirds,
No,
of
I
course,
love
which
them.
we know were your favourite.
I love them all who I played for. I mean, I know some people think I don't, but I do.
After that Sheffield United article.
Oh, that was him here, wasn't it? He always stitched me right up.
Is this whole show just designed to show my inadequacy? 'Cause it's easy. It's shooting fish in a barrel.
I even had the boys from the BBC up at Sheffield ringing me, giving me stick for it.
That was a good story.
It was typical of you.
It was a good story.
But, no, listen.
I saw it in the bus station on the bill there.
It's really disappointing to see what's going on at the moment at Bolton. And, you know, they're
surprised that they're doing so badly?
Well, I am really surprised.
They're 4 points adrift of.
They're gonna listen. They're gonna go. It's no joke. They're in that situation where they're gonna go. You know, it's as simple as that. You look at, like I used to say, like 10 years ago, the Premiership will change. And you look now, and you look at look where Southampton were 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, look where Swansea were 6, 7 years ago. Look where Bournemouth were 4 or 5 years ago. Then you look at the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds, you know, Sheffield United in League One, and you keep going down. You go all the way to the conference now. The conference is full with teams largely who were, in my day, were 4th division, 3rd division clubs. You know, so it's Wrexham. You know, it's Halifax is another one. You know, so it's unbelievable, like what's going on. It seems like the Premier League, if you get your game right or your club right in the Championship, you go up, but then staying up is the difficulty. That is
Cardiff
the difficulty.
I remember that
it can be done, but then if you don't and you come down, the consensus is you've got to be in the top 6 to give yourself an automatic chance.
The feeling is there. You've got to get back up quickly.
You've got to, like Hull, like Burnley. That's what they're trying to do. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we've fallen into that trap where we've fallen outside the first season, and then as you see, what we had was a monstrous squad, which you can't. It fails you in two ways. One, financially, and two, trying to keep 40 first team players happy is impossible. Then you've got the little whippersnapper and the 21s who all want opportunity. Totally stifles them. So you've got 60 odd pros, 55, 60 odd pros vying for 11 positions or 16 positions or 18 if you want to say a squad. It just breeds, you know, envy and, you know, backbiting and stuff like that.
I mean, talking about Slade, isn't that his greatest achievement here almost so far? It is in trimming that.
His greatest achievement, you know.
I got my Russell Slade T-shirt on. And
For real?
I got my
Did you go out with him on the weekend
it
or
just
something?
struck me.
Did you two go out on the weekend?
We're fine, me and Russell. We get on.
You watch me Strictly together?
We get on well, me and Russell. But no, I just thought as you were talking about that situation, that the way that he has rationalised the squad a bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's not. Let's be fair. It's not difficult to cut a squad. John, not needed anymore. You can go on a transfer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
It's not difficult to cut a squad.
Yeah.
It's difficult to build a squad. When then you look at, I think that's one of the gripes the fans have. Okay, you cut it, you give them credit for cutting it, but there's no money exchanging or nothing like that. Well, unless you're selling. Yeah. But then when you've been given money to build or rebuild and put certain things in certain places, that's when fans feel like, well, he hasn't been the best. So, you know, if you're saying that is great, he's going to be known for his greatest legacy at Cardiff is cutting the squad. You know,
I don't know. It's just cutting. I mean, I thought, you know, my views on Solskjaer. He's like a complete madman. You know, like I just think he brought an incredibly strange. The size of the squad, the players. That
do you know the problem with Solskjaer?
I think at least
I don't think there was enough. I don't think there was enough thought given by the club. At the end of the day, you can say what you like, but you know, I take my kid into a sweet shop. He wants 10 different. He has one. You know what I mean? Make a choice. I think the difficulty was because the chairman Mehmet had stepped up and said, "This is my son." They kind of like said, "You free reign," sort of thing. But that's where I say you were coming off a situation where you were complaining about the last regime and how they had taken advantage. So to me, you look, you know, dot every I, cross every T. You do your due diligence. You know, you don't allow him to say, right, I'm going to go and sign this player, this player, this player, this player, this player, this player. And because he's ex-Man United and he's got, you know, links into Man United. And when I spoke to Fergie the other day, and now me and Fergie are friends, and mate, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What you need to do is build your club. And there was very little thought process. So yes,
it was so random.
I hold, like, you've got to hold the man who's responsible for it. Responsible, yeah. But, you know, also, you know, he has people above him. You know what I mean? There's a chief executive, there's a board of directors, there's a chairman, there's a owner. You can't just say, oh, you know, Solskjaer wrecked things. No.
Well, I mean, God, when you go with sack a manager, you don't go, oh, there's a chairman, or, you know, you're the manager.
Off you pop.
You carry the can.
What about Neil Lennon then at Bolton? Because obviously there was a time, you may remember, when Cardiff were looking for a new manager, where a lot of people, Cardiff fans, were quite interested.
I think
in Neil
what
Lennon.
you're seeing with Neil Lennon, I think you know what you're seeing with Lenny is managing a massive club like Celtic, right? And you have to say what he achieved was superb. And people go, oh, it's a Mickey Mouse league, and there is only. You know, Rangers were their biggest rivals at that time. They've gone out of the league, blah, 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 blah. But you still have to win the games. You still have to get the results. And he done well in qualifying for Champions Leagues and stuff like that. I think what you're seeing now is someone who had not a great budget, but in terms of the league they were playing in, they got the best budget, or they're the strongest. They're able to go out and sign players, unlike most other clubs in the Scottish League. Regardless of whether those players are very good or very bad or indifferent, they have the ability to do so. At Bolton, he hasn't got that ability. He hasn't got that ability to be able to go and make signings that he would want to sign. He is now having to manage signings. He's having to get, well, I think, you know, Tucks can fit in there. And I'm hoping, rather than trusting your convictions and knowing, well, I got £4 million, I'm going to go buy Steve Tucker because he fits into exactly what I need. Bang, in he goes. It's far more difficult, and that's where like I always say, you scout in, you know, your contact base into other managers, into other clubs, into other agents, into other chief execs, and what have you. That's where, as a club, you've got to have your contact base. So I think he's finding it difficult for that reason.
Yeah,
I think he was saying in the comment today about Cardiff got to take advantage of what's going on there now.
Yeah, one win all season.
There's no point in going there and being all right. Okay, we'll hold what we got, you know, and we'll maybe try. I think Cardiff have got to go there now against that side and impose themselves on Bolton and say, look, no, we're here, we're having the points, put them aside. Because you said it right today in your column again. You said the teams that are gonna be up the top this season, or already are going to be there in the final reckoning, they're going to Bolton and they're taking 3 points. Cardiff have got to make sure they're winning.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, on that kind of point, Paul from Grangetown asked a question.
Hi, Paul from Grange.
Does Blakey think this team is good enough to go on an unbeaten streak that will cement a playoff place, or will we need some quality brought in January? Personally, he says, I don't think this team has the magic to go on such a run, and we will need players in January.
Great question. Is that Paul from Grangetown? Great question, I have to say, because I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. I believe they have the ability, but I don't believe that they're playing in a way that will allow them to go on that kind of run. And the kind of run I'm talking about is like, you know, 15 unbeaten, and you've won 9 of them. Do you know what I mean? You won 9 or 10 games. That is a major run, what I would call. I believe they could do it. If you ask me, will they? I don't think they will, no. Because I don't think enough matches up. I don't watch them and think. I watched them, okay, Saturday they were decent for the first time in a long while. But like we say, I hope that gets better, but I'm not holding my breath about it.
It's so hard to base it on that one. You know, is that a blip? Was that the blip? The being good? Was it a blip? You don't know.
Yeah.
I think I said in the piece in a rather clever and profound way that you only recognise a turning point long after it's happened, and you look back on it. You don't know at the time that
The
it's
set of
happening.
results after.
Yeah, it's only when you're 5 games away. You go, God, that game against Burnley. They may have
And to
only
answer the other
really
part of
kick-started them now. So it's so difficult to say. I totally agree with Blakey that they got the capabilities within the squad. I think man for man, I was thinking that when I was watching the Burnley game, I was looking on the team sheet. I was thinking, kind of got the better players here, realistically. So why are Burnley doing it?
I think my first reply would be the boy up front. They went and spent
Andre.
they went and spent a few million for Gray, and listen, I don't know why we haven't had a striker when we've just been reflecting on it. We haven't had a 20-goal striker for years. Years we haven't had one. So, that is something that you've got to go and find. You've got to invest in, or you've got to have, whether it's coming from your youth or your 21s, or you're going out and buying it. That is a must. If you want to be successful in football, you've got to have a striker that scores goals. It's as simple as that. And at the moment, that has been a big letdown. But to answer the other side of Paul's question, do we need to sign in January? Personally, even though I think we've got a good squad, there's still players in our squad, and I won't name names right now, but there's still players in our squad who I would see out the door, because I think we've got too many similar type players, and I would go and try and recoup some money, and then I would go and find 2 or 3 players with a lot of pace. Pace is why, even if I had to go down to the lower league on 1 or 2 and take a chance, I would go and find players with a lot of pace. Or my scouting network across Europe, I would go and find 2 or 3 players who could play wide, and maybe someone who can pass it and got legs in the central midfield, and a striker. So 4 or 5 signings I would be looking to make. Definitely a basis of 3.
I think this is, I think, a bit. Roy asked that maybe this all links in these couple of points. Roy says, do Tucks and Blakey still think? Do they think that Slade has the personality to draw in and attract top quality players?
That's a great question as well, Roy.
Sam then says, personally, I know this is negative, but personally, I would sack Slade now, regardless of where they are, and get a new manager to take Cardiff further up the table, particularly with the transfer window coming in. But even if a new manager came in, in December, it doesn't change the fact that there is no money going to be made available for the type of quality players.
Okay, so this is where you've got to
spend $5 million.
This is where you've got to wheel. This is where you've got to wheel and deal. Then, all right. So this is where this is what I'm saying. No, this is where your planning comes in, where right, I've got Pilkington and Noon, similar type players. One's got to go. Why? Because I want a flyer. I've got both of them who can come inside and play off, so I make a choice. Yeah. Then I've got Kennedy on the other side, and Rowles or Whittingham or Amiobi. So again, Amiobi's in on loan, so I make a choice again. Kennedy, Rowles, Whittingham, my left-sided players. You could say Rowles, Whittingham both want to play centrally. Kennedy, okay, he's a bit different. So do I keep the Kennedy type of player because he fits into that same mould for me as Pilkington and Noon, or do I look for something different? Do you know what I mean? These are, your strategy, your planning is massive. I think what tends to happen is a lot of it's just almost like, not guesswork, but I'll buy him, or I'll get him, rather than fitting it into a system that will work, that everyone understands.
That's been going on for so long.
And we haven't had a system.
No.
That's what happened in the Solskjaer, was just bolting something extra on until you've got this thing.
A club philosophy of how you play and the kind of players you sign. Do you know what I mean? And so it's easy to just say, but mate, that's the reason why there's few teams who are very successful, because so much thought process and work goes in behind the scenes, not just by the manager, but by there's a team of people.
Yeah.
Whether you're speaking to people in France, Germany, whether you've got contacts in Spain, South America, Africa, you've got to be looking, because you're only looking for 4 or 5 players. Yeah, and then you look into your 21s, your youth team. What are they like? Right, we got a 7-year-old kid who's a bit of a wonder kid. Okay, and he comes, 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes here, travel with the squad, doesn't get on, but you start to...
Well, that's a whole other thing, the academy again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Started on that. I think we've spoken about that.
And you said about wheeling and dealing to, getting rid of this to make a bit more money available here. Do we come back to the Marshall question then in January in terms of there's a player that you could sell and get?
No, I think he's
got a
too,
replacement
I think that's
there,
too. I think that's easy. You think to yourself, well, that's an easy choice, because that's money sat there waiting. But you're trying to build to get back to the Premier League, and then when you get in the Premier League, you want to stay there. Now, Marshall, is he good enough for the Premier League? When he was in there, he was probably in the top 5 goalkeepers in the Premier League. So, am I going to be able to go and get that again, or am I going to have to go and spend 5, 6, 7, 8 million quid to go and find it?
Yeah.
So, if he's happy to stay, like I've said before, but I have to show my conviction to him, just like he is showing his commitment to me. I have to show my commitment and my conviction of building a team that he can see is, right, we're going somewhere. I can understand, I can see the kind of signings that have been made. I know why, what we're doing in training, we all understand. Do you know what I mean? It's when you break it down, it's a it's a massive job to do. But, you've got to have that team around you that can do the job first and foremost.
It'll be an interesting one, January, I'm sure.
It is going to be a very interesting January.
They've obviously indicated this striker thing, so they're obviously still in the market for a striker. The proposed loan was with a view to a deal, and I was told that this guy they missed out on, we may be able to do something about it in January.
Like Doyle I would try and get off the wage bill. Yeah.
He hasn't even been given a chance though, has he? Or is he? I suppose he has.
Makeda would try and get off the wage bill.
Really?
Yeah, and I would...
I know Slade loves Makeda.
Yeah, but you've got to understand. You've got to understand.
Big admirer.
When he hasn't played with confidence for Cardiff. I remember one of his last games, which I didn't. You don't take any pleasure in hearing, especially as a former player. But ironic cheers when he got hold of the ball and stuff like that. His confidence.
And it's not like he wasn't given a chance.
And I've always said,
so I don't know.
he had a great chance. I've always said,
He was the first choice.
he's not going to score you 20 goals. He hasn't done anywhere. Do you know what I mean? And if he was like, okay, one of the best hold-up players in the league, I'd say, well, okay, fair enough. Kenwynn's going to get you 12 to 18 goals a season, and he's probably the best hold-up player in the league. So you keep him for that reason. Do I need another hold-up player? Well, Makeda's not going to do you over the top. He's not necessarily mad skillful. He's not what you'd say. I always say he's a jack of all trades. He's good at everything. But he's not unbelievable at one. You know what I mean? But he's not going to get you 20 goals a season. Mate, you've got to start saying, right, be a bit more definitive with your selection and saying, sorry, in you come. Or out 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I've got 80 grand off the wage bill, and I've got 1.5 million combined for those 4 players. And I know there's a kid in my youth team, or there's a kid in France, or there's a kid in Germany or Africa, or I've got my contacts. They've trialed, they've done their due diligence about him. They know his family background. Right, over he comes. Or my lower league contacts. I've heard there's someone at Forest Green. Bam, 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 bam. Up he comes. Whatever, you've got to be like an octopus, tentacles everywhere.
But I mean, they got League One, Owen Doyle, League One runaway top scorer. But hasn't done it, has he? He hasn't made the step up. They've tried that.
But again, I would say he falls into that same bracket as like Joe and everyone. It's not like you're playing in a team that's creating chance after chance after chance. Yeah. It's no coincidence that Lafondra, Makeda, Doyle, Kenwyn, Ravel, Mason. There's 5 or 6 players, none of them are scoring goals. They can all score goals in abundance, but none of them have come and even look like being a 15 goal a season striker. You're not playing in a way that is conducive for them to score goals. So you can't just say, no, he hasn't done it, out. Because you're not providing him with chances to score. It's like it's a no-brainer. If you look, that's what we're saying. We can't think back now of the last time we've had a 20-goal a season striker. Probably Ernie.
Chops.
Yeah. It's a long time ago for a striker. For a club the size of ours, who's been in the Premier League and trying to get back to the Premier League, you've got to have your strikers. Your goals are they're your golden ticket. I have to say it. That's why they get paid the most.
Hey, but I mean, let's come. Maybe Kenwyne Jones, Tony Watt, maybe.
Maybe
Now. I mean, there were good signs. I don't know. Looking, maybe he's come across. Something's going to fire. I'm just going to be positive. But do you know what I mean? Suddenly something takes off. They're just wow, and you get it. So. Watch this space, I guess.
And the one other January issue, of course, is Kenwyne Jones in terms of his contract's up at the end of the season. Talks are to resume in January, which seems a little late in the day.
I think
the casual observer.
I'm judging. I don't think he'll be here next year.
You think he'll leave on a free? Just won't sign a deal?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I wouldn't be surprised because they tried to get him.
It's a massive mistake. I think they should have. I always say 2 years. Once you run down to 2 years is when you worst case scenario 18 months. But it's when you really, you should be signed by 18 months. You should have opened up talks, 6 months previous, 6 months dialogue, boom, 2 years, decide whether. But that's planning. That's what I'm saying. You plan for the long term, the medium, the short term. Over that 5 years, 4 years, he's going to get injuries. But that's a piece of my jigsaw, my general jigsaw of how I need and what I need inside it. And when he's fit, I can utilize it and blah, 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 blah. So, sometimes I get frustrated thinking, we don't seem to do either. We don't seem to plan for the long term. Everything seems to be like a short term stick and plaster, or we'll do it today because it'll solve the problem tomorrow. And I would say that piece when someone from the club had said, reason fans walking away, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden it was like, right, kids can come in free, thinking, well, that was going to get 5,000-6,000 fans back through the gate.
I thought that crowd on the weekend was small as well.
You're nuts. It's like, if you think it's that simple, it's like, that to me, and that's me typical of it. Short-termism. Everything, it's okay for tomorrow. Okay. You're trying to build a team, a club to get in the Premier League and stay there. Not stay there for 2 years, not stay there for a season, but stay there.
Okay.
I thought
get
this was going to be negative today.
I get a little frustrated. And we're talking club now, aren't we? We're not talking team, and we're talking the whole overall structure, the long term, medium term, the short term.
I don't know. You do wonder what Vincent Tan's ambitions are still for the club. What are they? I mean, because obviously that's what I mean. I mean, it's all a bit contradictory. Obviously, he's cut back on the budgets and this and that and all that.
Because you've still got a good budget.
But the other problem he's got, the strange thing he's got though, is you do think for the sake of another push, say, go out in January, spend 5 million on a guy, I don't know, whatever. Whether Slade's the right man to do that is another thing.
I don't think we're set up to do it. I wouldn't if I was Vincent Tan.
Could get them back.
If I was Vincent Tan, I wouldn't at this moment in time. I don't think it's a case of, like I've just said, I don't think it's a case of just chucking a bit of money at it and walking away and thinking, the job.
It worked last time in Malky. It worked. He was given a budget. He was given a good budget, and he got them up as champions.
I think
there's a lot more to it than money, but it was a good manager.
Well, there you go then. You just
I'm just saying, it would add. It would give them a much better chance of going up. Investment.
You said two different things.
What's
you
that?
said, right, it happened last time Malky was here, blah, 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 blah. But there was a lot more to it. There is a lot more to it. It's not as simple as going, here's 5 million quid.
No.
You should be able to get up on that.
I mean, Slade said it himself the other day. You look at the teams that have spent. Look at Derby. They're top of the table.
Slade has spent.
They are. No, wait. On who?
Listen, you don't have to.
Really?
You don't
have to. Over £1 million.
Yeah, but you don't have
on
to.
On a player. That's peanuts nowadays.
Well, listen, Jamie Vardy proves you don't have to go out and buy a £5 million player.
Okay. But I'm just saying.
Yeah. So it's no good saying, but that's an exception. There are exceptions
I'm
out
saying
there.
investment, it doesn't do it all, but it provides you with a platform.
You can generate your own investment, is what I'm trying to say. It's just,
Like
it's not just about the money, having money. There's certain players you can buy that fit into your squad.
All right.
Like he might be playing for Colchester United, but he fits in. He might be a sub for West Ham every week. I'll see if I can drag him in and see would he be interested in being my number one. You know, he fits into what I'm trying to do. It's not always about just saying, right, I've got to have money to... Do you understand what I mean?
It doesn't guarantee anything, but I think investment like that gives you the platform. If you've got a good manager then, and you've got, like Malky was when he was at Cardiff, still is probably, if you've got that, you've got the financial backing, it gives you a much, much better chance of going up.
Of course.
Much better.
Of course.
And I just wonder what Vincent... You sometimes look at it and think, crikey, they're close.
I personally
Why not
think,
another shot at
I
it?
personally
Is
think...
he happy for them to... Because the parachute... How long are they? 2 years? So they're going to run out, and then you're stuck. So, I don't know. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying I wonder slightly what, and I think a lot of people do, what the
plan is.
Are.
Yeah.
You know,
what the plan is. We don't know what the plan is.
You ask them, they say, we want to play off, we want to play place. Really? Do you? I don't know. What's the big plan moving forward? Only Vincent Tan could probably answer that. He's on next week, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I don't even know if he still exists, to be honest with you, but I'm sure he's a mythical figure these days. There we go, then, right, we're nearly there. Quick predictions then to finish for Bolton. We said a game they should go there and win with ease.
2-0 Cardiff.
2-2.
2-2.
2-2 on the 2-2.
Desmond.
Desmond.
There we go. All right, fair enough.
It's not positive.
It's a bit,
Tell us.
Because it's my second team and I can't bet against
Oh,
them.
of course. Before we go to bed, before we all go off and go to what we're going to do, say something, a positive thing to end the show. This is the most positive show.
We played well Saturday.
Thank you.
And things may get better.
Things can only get better.
I was hoping you wouldn't. I was thinking, should I say that? Because I knew you'd kick into song.
You like me singing. You like my stuff, man. you like my work.
Yeah, your book of work.
My book of work.
Thank you, Jabs. Thanks for singing as well. Much appreciated. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all your comments. Apologies once again for Blakey's tardiness in turning up 15 minutes late. But there we go.
I'm all behind now.
We can only work with what we can work with, can't we? Plenty of news from Cardiff throughout the week, and of course we'll be live at that Bolton match next weekend. We'll see you next week. Take care.